Welcome everyone. It's time for our next session, that is data driven agriculture, remote sensing, AI and ML, and blockchain. Big data and mobile technology are widely claimed to be the global disruptive forces in agriculture that benefit small scale farmers. Yet, the access of small scale farmers to this technology is poorly understood. In the journey towards high yield, quality crops, and high profit, farmers have to be successful as both growers and businessmen, or the other way around. Let's have the viewpoints of our experts on the same. And now I'm going to introduce you to our experts for today. Srinivasa Rao, co-founder Tracex Technologies, academically an electrical engineer and an alumni of IIM Bangalore. Srivasta is passionate about building technology solutions for social good. Over his 18 plus years of professional experience, he has led many initiatives around software product development, engineering, and solution sales in both enterprise software corporations and startups in agriculture, food, and education. Our next speaker is Kiran Nair, COO DV Excelis Private Limited. Kiran is an EdTech professional with more than 6 years of experience in ICT, design thinking, product management, strategy, sales, marketing, and business development. Our third speaker is Shubhankar Pandey, CTO and co-founder in Cube. Shubhankar co-founded in Cube with InnoVentures with a focus on technology reach to the common people. He is currently leading the practice social engagement through sustainable change for InCube. He has an experience of 20 plus years worldwide in IT systems and on agri-tech, health tech, and BFSI. He also has won multiple international and corporate awards, including the prestigious Asian Bankers Award. I welcome you all experts to this panel. This panel is going to be moderated by Neeraj Shah, partner, tech and startup practice at Honeybee. Over to you, Neeraj. Welcome everyone on board.
Thank you, Harsiddhi. I hope I am audible.
Yes, you are completely audible.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I would like to thank AIC GUSEC and Honeybee for organizing this type of, you can say, an esteemed panels for different topics. Today, I would like to thank our panelists, which is Srivatsa, Subhankar, and Kiran. Srivatsa, good to see you after that our UK-India Tech Hub trips. Subhankar, glad to meet you. We had a great time with Srivatsa and Tridibis in Bangalore and UK-India Tech Hub trip. Kiran, welcome. We welcome you from you're based in Kathmandu, right?
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. I'm based out of Kathmandu.
So we have very different panelists here, and I would like to thank all of you for accepting our invitation. So topic for our panel is data-driven agriculture, where the technology plays a very important role, like remote sensing or IoT, AI and ML, blockchain, and everything. So just to set the context, I would like to say that data-driven agriculture is the system where data becomes the heart to create the precision farming solutions and better decision which needs to be taken on the farm. So first of all, let me start with the basic questions for all of you, where you can answer one by one according to your journey. That what challenges do you see in getting the right data, which will be used for giving solutions through cutting edge technologies just I mentioned. So I think Srivasa, you can start. Yeah, Srivasa, we cannot hear you. Yeah, we can see you, but we cannot hear you. Okay. Meanwhile, Subhankar, if you want to go ahead.
Yeah. So what happens is in Indian kind of a scenario where just in the other panel I was listening that people are really worried about the small scale farmers. In Indian scenario, 90% of the farmers are small scale and have the small holdings. So in this kind of a scenario, getting the data or getting the required data which is necessary for the decision support becomes very difficult on both sides. It is definitely on the side on which we are trying to give them the solution. It has to be based on that data, but how to get that data and the cost of
Right.
getting that data is very important and very critical for any agri-tech startup. At the same point of time, for the farmer, till now for last 70 years, what he is getting is probably if there is a problem which is happening, there's the person who is giving them the solution is basically who is selling them their agri inputs, whether it is pesticides or whether it is fertilizer. So it is the people who are killing them is actually giving them the solution. So it is a both way gap which is happening. The farmer is not getting the information which is required for them. A farmer in the field doesn't know that what is the weather pattern that has been changed for last 50 years, and there has been a severe change in the weather pattern which has happened for last 50 years. What is the soil characteristics which has changed in last 50 years? So that poor guy is still relying on the data which his probably forefathers has been using to sow and grow the same crop, same age old crop. So there has been sea changes which has been happening outside in the world which they are not aware of. At the same point of time, we as a tech based agri tech based startup who want to give the solution to the farmer, we do not have most of the times adequate information based on which we can cure our models. So it is a both way gap.
Yeah, surely, perfectly articulated. I can connect with that. That through our past two AgTech startups, we had found such informations from the ground that the farmers are getting the messages that today this is the weather, tomorrow this will be the weather. But what is the relevance for that farmer, right? The needs to understand what type of crop and what type of land they are using. So it's both ways, as you rightly mentioned. Thanks a lot. Srivatsa, are you there? Yeah, you are connected through the system, but unfortunately, we cannot hear you. Okay, fine. I'll continue with Kiran. Yeah, Kiran. Yeah. Kiran, so can you just put your views on the same as per
Uh,
your experience as you are taking care of operations in so many years? So, what type of challenges do you feel that to get the right data in a right way, as Subhankar mentioned, for both the ways? So, what is your view on that?
so I mean, data is the foundation of everything, right? I mean, especially in the ag tech sector, data is what we are actually playing with. I mean, in order to come up with a solution as well. So as a company, in order to come up with a possible solution for the farmers, we don't have that foundation with respect to the basic data with respect to what a farmer is actually cultivating at this point in time. That information is also missing. Probably you might be having that information from the farmer groups or the farmers you're working with, probably around 10,000 plus or 10,000 farmers, but no more than that. Like if you want to uh, give out an IT solution as a mass solution to almost all the smallholder farmers or large scale farmers, we don't have that particular data. So, and also there are seasonal based cultivation. There are certain farmers who are going to cultivate off season vegetables as well. So, I mean, if you want to include all the farmers, these data are missing. That is one thing. And with respect to, as Mr. Sumangar mentioned, with respect to the soil data, with respect to the weather pattern changes, I mean, and with respect to the nutritional deficiency of soil over cultivated, I mean, using the chemical things and then, what kind of changes have happened to the soil over the period of years. So those data are completely missing. So even for an actor company, for us to come up with a proper solution for the farmers, those data are missing. I mean, and from the farmer's point of view, it's the same scenario. Other than there are, I mean, certain level of changes which has happened with respect to accessibility and as well as digital inclusion. But other than that, the lackage, like with respect to the dissemination of data from the both the and I mean from both the parties with respect to the creator and as well as receiver is still there. I mean it's still persists.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks a lot. Yeah. Yes, Rivat sir. No, still you are not audible. I don't know, unfortunately, what. So what you can do, you can retry to join it again. So if that can solve the issue. Yeah. Okay. So till the time he joins back, I would like to know now that we have discussed how difficult it is to get the data specifically for this sector, and it has to be come in a proper manner to create something to deliver to the growers and to make sure that it is adding value not only to growers but to the agtech startups as well as the whole ecosystem. So my next question will be, what do you think will be the role of data for better decision farming, contextual to what type of work you guys have been doing through your organization? So Supankar, if you can start with.
Yeah, so before I actually start this question, I mean, start the answer of this question, let me just go back to the earlier question once again.
Yeah, sure.
When we talk about, because these two are interlinked, so when we talk about the kind of data we need on both the sides, it is, I'll just take a small example that, we have seen, like we have worked with 7.2 million farmers in West Bengal. That is almost the whole farmer base of Bengal at this point of time, and we have been working with them for last 5 years. So what happens is, in last 1 year, what we have seen, say a very simple information, as I was talking about the weather information in a region like West Bengal, in the eastern part of India, is if I say. Generally, hailstorms and thunderstorms don't happen in the month of March. Okay, so starting from end of February till April times, it's a very small farming cycle, crop cycle, where this year, 2020, actually last year, a lot of farmers, small farmers, had tried to grow garlic. Garlic is a short stage crop and it can grow in 8 to 12 weeks. So they wanted to grow some garlic, which will give them some quick cash before the education cycle, the school cycle starts, etc., etc. And at this point of time, at least there are 20 agriculture startups working in India. We can fairly say at least 20 active startups, if not more, and who are connecting with the farmers on a daily basis. There are government machineries who are trying to reach the farmer, who are reaching the farmer with a lot of information on daily basis. There are different agriculture companies, as in agri input companies, who sell their product to the farmer. But on subsequent 3 days during March, there was a hailstorm in West Bengal, and we have lost a crop, the total garlic crop, of few hundreds of crores of rupees for a particular region of West Bengal. So this is the kind of information I'm talking about, and this is the kind of impact I'm talking about. So as we had started with Incube InnoVentures for agri-tech, we started our journey in 2015, and we had started to work with 7 million farmers in West Bengal, not on day one, but gradually. And so before I continue, are you back?
Yeah, I just want to
Rao?
check. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Guys, I'm so
can.
sorry. Sorry, not sure what.
No, that's totally fine.
No, it happens.
Yeah, I'm back.
We
Sorry,
understand
okay,
sometimes this tech things, this can happen.
We are technology providers, and tech will let you down several times, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys continue.
That's the beauty of tech, right?
Yeah. But that is our ultimate savior at also at the end.
Wire works better than wireless, right? Any day.
I told you.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is that when we started in Incube, so initially we had reached 6 districts of West Bengal, and then we started getting data from all over West Bengal since 2016, 2017. And what we could see is that farmers, to reach the farmers, it is extremely difficult to get the kind of data we need. It is absolutely difficult, and it is not because of lack of usage of smartphones. Smartphone is one issue, definitely, but the farmers today also is smartphone savvy. He may not be owning a smartphone on his own, but somebody in his family owns a smartphone. So from that point of view, although we are able to reach the farmer to make them understand why we need the data. And let me tell you one thing, farming community is a very suspicious community, because from day one they have been told that we will give you that, this benefit, that benefit, this thing, that thing, and nothing has reached them at all. So they don't want to give you any data until and unless you show them the direct benefit. So it was a complete cycle, complete cropping cycle, where we had to establish that the kind of benefit which they could reap from our system before they actually starting out the data.
Yeah, great, Subhankar. So for the audience, what the point was that if you are aspirants in this field to become a tech startup or getting into this sector where you want to solve any problem with certain technology, the important part is data, but it's not that easy. You need to understand that. As Subhankar mentioned, it is a tricky task. You need to understand the farmer, make them understand what value you will bring, and it's just that you need to be very patient in this sector, because it's not that overnight everything will be at your plate and you start your algorithms or tech whatever you want through the data and start providing the solution. So Srivatsa, glad you're back. So we'll start with the first thing that as per your experience, tremendous experience in this field and creating such technologies, what type of challenges do you see that in getting the right data, which can be very important for the people like you, Subhankar, Kiran, or whoever in the ag tech space to create such solutions?
Sure. Thanks, Neeraj. Again, so we are in the space of providing, traceability, leveraging frontier technologies like blockchain. Eventually, the idea is to provide either farm-to-factory traceability for manufacturers or farm-to-fork traceability for food brands or any agriculture brand, right? And as you can see, when you talk about traceability, traceability is all about data, relevant data, valid data, verified. Data could be verified in the chain, but the quality of the data is very important, and that's exactly where our challenges are as well. No different from what Subhankar was saying. Very often the problem that we get, because we work both in the pre-harvest and post-harvest area, pre-harvest is always a challenge for data. Post-harvest, you can still find a lot of customers. Digital literacy, better digital literacy, better connected systems, IoT devices, and all of that fancy thing that we talk about will be definitely a possibility to integrate and get data in the post-harvest side. But pre-harvest side always suffers. It starts with as simple as who is going to be responsible for gathering this data, right? Who's going to be responsible for gathering data? Who's going to be responsible for verifying this data? What levels of verification does it go? And data is always an expensive deal, especially when it comes to agriculture, collection of data itself, right? If you have to put devices, let's say on one side, people may argue that I have devices, sensors, etc. I'll collect data, great. But then practically installing device, getting devices to work, continue to support that has remained a challenge. We've tried several projects like that. I'm saying there is a mixed success rate there. On the other side, if you have people on the ground, let's say the crop advisors or field assistants or whoever that has to work with farmers in collecting data, then you're also leaving it to one person for compromise of the data quality and veracity of the data could also happen. And the challenge that we also see is understandability of the application when it comes to farmers are comfortable using mobile applications, but not all deep farms will have connectivity that we are trying to solve using offline and multilingual and all of that stuff. Even though applications are multilingual, the comprehending ability of what they should go about providing the data, all of that it continues to be a challenge. Therefore, data collection makes it a bit expensive as well. And this is not a phenomenon that we see across states. Of course, in states like West Bengal, we have some presence in West Bengal as well. So there, it is a lot more difficult for us to operationalize our digital platform compared to here in Karnataka or Telangana. Right, so because there it is, the farmers are I would say progressive. Secondly, again, I'll go back to what Shubhankar was saying, that you have to create that ultimate benefit of what's in it for the farmer when these things are being collected. So they're happy to give data. I don't think anybody has told us, look, I'll not give you, but clearly articulating what is the value for them, right? And also our experience is when this becomes successful is when you go in as a consortium. There is one a consortium of partners who is responsible for input, and one is responsible for input, the other one for agronomy, the other one for technology, the someone is doing market linkages, someone is solving their water problems. So a consortium like this will always make every one of us successful in this play of digital first agriculture. I would say I'll pause there, but yeah, that's my feedback on the question.
Yeah, great views, Srivatsa. So it means that we all should consider that we should walk along by keeping ecosystem in the mind, not only one or two particular thing, because it's an ecosystem which will drive the benefit for everyone if everyone plays their individual role in precise manner. So Kiran, back to you. Depending upon type of work you guys have been doing, so what type of role do you see the data plays for helping the farmer in taking the right decisions for their farming practices, or to become more profitable, or you can say more productive?
Okay, all right. So DBXLS, we started our operations in 2019, actively in Kathmandu, and then by the time we set up the team and everything, the COVID has happened. So that is one of the plus point for us to to boom the business at that point in time. So we started our work with the farmers in 2019 with respect to helping them with respect to inputs and tools, and as well as machineries, and as well as technologies, and knowledge as well with respect to improve their cultivation practices. And once we started engaging with the farmers, we identified the market with respect to output as well. So, I mean, give them whatever they want with respect to tools, machineries, and all those stuff. And then after that, they were lacking with respect to a proper market linkage, and especially in the terrain like we live in Kathmandu, and as well as outskirts of Kathmandu, which is the hilly and as well as mountain regions. The farmers, they don't have proper supply chain in order to get these perishable products to the market on time, and as well as a proper warehouse structure and cold house structure like that. So we created our own B2B and as well as B2C market in urban and semi-urban area. And we started procuring from the farmers directly once the harvested produce is ready. And then we started supplying. So this is the basic thing which we are done from the operations point of view. Now, when we talk about AgTech, agriculture technology, we have introduced agricultural technology to in a way that we should reach out to more farmers within limited period of time. So once we introduced this technology, the idea was to gather data by ourselves. Talk to the farmers, give them a form, let's say, give them an application, and they will start filling out the data, and we will get the data, we'll process it. So that was the entire mindset, which has changed over a period of time, down the line, like 8 to 9 months. We understood that getting a farmer engaged in that particular mobile app or a web platform is going to be a difficult task. They're not going to do fill out the details of with respect to what they're actually growing, what they're actually purchasing. So that was a difficult task, and it was a failed task. So and from that point of view, that point of time, what we understood is collaboration. So we started collaborating with the importers and as well as major manufacturers, the manufacturing industries of inputs within Nepal itself. That is one. Second is we started collaborating with the banks and as well as financial institutions with respect to the financial access to the farmers. Third is we started collaborating with the major B2B chains, like food chains over here within Kathmandu, just to understand their requirements as well. So and then we started mapping the overall thing with respect to what a farmer is actually purchasing throughout the year with over the month or seasons from these input buyers. And then we have a collaboration with respect to these guys will be supplying their product to us and we will be giving it to the farmers so that they can only look at the complete distribution and as well as import, and we will take care of the retailing part of those inputs to the farmers. And this is happening with the help of data. So we map out the entire product requirement in multiple regions with respect to inputs, tools, and as well as machineries over a period of time with respect to divided in seasons and as well as months, and we push those products and make sure that the farmer get those products on time. Second is we started mapping out the product cultivation, like with the crop cultivation across multiple regions as well. Since we work with the B2B buyers, major hotel chains across Kathmandu, we work with 100 plus restaurants and as well as hotel chains, and we have worked with 3,000 to 3,500 plus households as well within urban and as well as semi-urban region. And we also supply to the wholesalers. So we map the cultivation of these farmers in and around Kathmandu, Pokhara, Chitwan region, and then we start procuring from them. So the procurement happens with respect to hotel chains. I mean, we won't be able to fulfill their demand with respect to whatever we directly procure from the farmers, because their requirement would be completely different with respect to. I mean, they might be requiring imported vegetables and as well as fruits as well. So whatever we could procure from the farmers has been directly going to the restaurants and as well as the hotel chains. And if it is bulk, it will be directly going to the wholesale buyers. But other than that, with respect to the demand data, the demand which we have gathered from the hotel chains and as well as restaurants is enabling us with respect to helping the farmers understand the importance of deviating from this particular trend of cultivating with the fellow farmers. Understand the market, understand the demand, and cultivate the products accordingly. There are off-season vegetables and as well as fruits which are majorly required in Nepal, and it has got a high demand in restaurant and as well as water. So we started passing this particular cultivation information to the farmers as well, and they started cultivating and supplying it to us. And happily, we are procuring and supplying it to the restaurants and as well hotel chains within Kathmandu. So that means like local production and as well as supply has been improved a lot with respect to AgTech and as well as data-driven farming, we can say. And we are also trying to improve with respect to the user experience and as well as the user engagement as well. Like we are still trying to identify how to engage farmer in a better way within mobile applications. Like what could actually create that particular interest for a farmer to at least open and see that particular mobile app every day. Like the help, like weather update, just simply giving them weather update is not going to happen. Like every Android and iOS app is going to give them weather update, what is going to happen today. So just push notifications are not going to help them out. So customized, personalized solution with respect to where they belong and what they grow and how they are growing. So those recommendations are actually right now which we are working on. That is one thing. Second is the major objective is always with respect to connecting these two goals: farmers with respect to producers, and then buyers with respect to consumers. We are always actually planning to connect these two doors with respect to production and as well as consumption to create a sustainable ecosystem. And we are also welcoming everyone with respect to this particular ecosystem, whoever working in this industry and whoever wants to jump into this industry, always welcoming. Like you can actually work with this and collaborate with this. Yes, this is what majorly we are focusing and we are working on.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Kiran. So the important part is, if it is difficult to get the data, should go for some collaborative efforts where you find out the way to get the data and provide the solutions. At the same time, in different regions, different types of farmers are there. So rural empowerment is critical there, where you want farmers or growers to provide you the required information through your platforms. It is important that we empower them as well. But first of all, as we earlier discussed, we need to make them understand what the value we are going to bring with this for them. So now, as you guys have a tremendous experience in working this domain, So my next question to all of you will be, as our main object of this type of discussion is to motivate the youngsters who are right now into this space or getting into this space as agtech startups. So how startups should be more focused and on creating solutions for farming problems with data driven technologies like we have discussed: AI, ML, IoT, blockchain, remote sensing, whatever. So what do you feel that on what points startups should be more focused for this particular purpose in creating the solutions which are data driven? So Subhankar, if you can start.
Okay, yeah. So actually, when we look at agriculture and agtech as a space, it's pretty complex and pretty vast. So when we talk about data in this, till now we have been talking about data from farmers. Yeah, data from farmers is definitely one of the important and critical things, but there are other sources of data as well. We talk about the weather data. We talk about the changing in the cropping patterns in last few decades. We talk about the satellite and the drone imagery data. All these data can work as a lot of inputs, to your AI and ML solutions. So my suggestion to any of the startups who are coming up new is look at the whole crop cycle. There is a huge gamut of solution you can look at, whether it is you are going for pre-sowing, even if a small solution where if you can tell a farmer when exactly it should be, they should sow their seeds, that exact date, if it is gets delayed within a range of a week, the yield will change, right? So if you have a solution which can tell them when exactly they should sow, to starting to with that point, you can take any of the cropping cycle stage and see which particular solution and which problem you should solve, which will benefit the farmer till the post harvesting stage. If you have a solution which can grade his crop in India today, or in all third world countries, I may say safely that grading their crop is a big problem, because they go to a mandi, they try to sell their crop, or maybe they're trying to sell their crop to a particular agency who are actually working like DBXL. So they are not able to understand what is the grading of their crop, right? If they are selling paddy, if they're selling wheat, the grading will change their whole pricing strategy. So these are the things which they should look at. Again, connectivity issues. So there are certain things, if you see at the agriculture gamut, the whole agriculture scenario, whether it is use of weather forecasting to monitor soil health, to monitor crop health, then irrigation, efficient and automated irrigation, then crop yield prediction, advisory of optimum usage of agri input. Do we understand that how much of fertilizer and pesticide that these farmer uses, some out of fear, some out of caution, some out of the pressure which these retailers are putting to them, is actually might not be required of all of that. Then better market access, then alternative cropping advices. So we are working in some of these, area to solving the connectivity problem. Like farmers today are staying in every nook and corner of India where connectivity is a major issue. So how do you solve that? Is there a product you can come up with which can solve that particular issue? Like we have a AI engine which does text to speech. We are still looking for an AI engine or working on an AI engine which will do a speech to text. Everything today has to be vernacular in ag tech. We have a platform which is completely multilingual. We take 7 to 10 days to add a new language to the platform. Now till that it is done, but do we have the system, or can somebody give me a system which will convert the farmer speech to text speech seamlessly without any kind of local deviation? So all these areas you need to look at. Agriculture is a vast area, and there are probably scope for 1,000 more solutions, 1,000 more innovations to come in right now. So you have to identify the problem, pinpoint the problem, and understand what is the benefit that the farmer will get out of your solution. Then you start working on the solution. So if you are in agri-tech, first research for probably first 1 year, understand the cropping cycle, understand the life cycle of different crops, to understand the farming pattern, understand the impact of geolocation, geoclimatic zones on that particular farming pattern, then you come up with a solution. That is my take on this.
Yeah, great insights, Shubhankar. So hitting the right chord, because it is so vast, this sector. So you need to be very careful and precise while starting. So Srivatsa, over to you. What's your views
Shubhankar hasn't left much for me
the
to talk.
startups?
No, I think he covered good points. So what I strongly believe is, first you have to be deep rooted, right? Just because somebody has spent a few years building, the technology, doesn't mean that you can just go on the ground and then one fine day turn things around. That is not going to happen. The solutions that we provide has to be extremely context sensitive, right? And that's the crux of the matter in agri-tech, or in any solving of the problem. I would say the precision in which you solve the solution is very, very important. Having 10 technologies there and then yet not able to make a difference just does not help anybody. You can probably show that in your social media. That's what you can go up to, but it requires a very deep level of conviction to work in a very, very bounded awareness manner. Why I say bounded awareness? Each crop and each variety in each taluka is $1 billion business. I'm sure everybody will agree with that, right? Let's not make it $1 billion. Let's make it few $1 million businesses, right? And it requires that much focus to understand one crop does not behave the way the other one behaves for different agroclimatic conditions, different soil conditions, different inputs, etc. Right? So that needs to be understood. I would say take one crop or maybe a few crops in the same varietal, right? And then try to solve for that. Go deep enough and solve for it end to end. That's especially if you're solving it. It doesn't matter whether you are applying AI algorithms or machine learning algorithms, or whether using a blockchain or whether or not. But I think it's important to solve that small, or you take a small problem, solve that completely. It may take 6 months, it may take 3 months, or it may take 1 year for you to just understand that. And without understanding the domain, there is no way anybody can build tech to solve for it. So what we do as a practice is, in many cases, though not at the engineering team, we hire agri graduates, not graduates, postgraduates, for implementation. What we have realized is, teaching agriculture by people with agriculture background, technology is very easy as compared to teaching what a crop and a variety is for an engineer, right? It will take longer duration of time. That is our observation. So it's important to have that team, a very, very balanced team who understands agriculture, who can come in and then provide technology and marry that very seamlessly with what works on the ground. A lot of things are not practical on the ground. So the crux of the matter will be to come up with practical solutions, not necessarily use greatest technologies. Use technologies, but if this end solution has to be kept in mind. It's not about using technology, it's about providing the solution. The solution, you have to dumb it down so much that that anybody should be able to use. For example, if people cannot enter data through mobile applications, give them something where they can speak to, which is what Shubhankar was talking about, right? But it's not easy. But that's the iteration that you have to do, right? Each data that you capture for each crop variety will be different. So things like that, very, very simple. Keep it local. Keep it very simple. Is what I would say, and spend time on the field. You can't be sitting in the AC rooms like today. I mean, not now, but you can't build tech for agriculture sitting in AC rooms. Just not possible, right? You have to dirty your yourself. Yeah, hands. Absolutely.
Get your hands dirty to start with.
Absolutely.
Very valid and greatly articulated. Valid point of providing a great team to start with, because for a successful startup in any domain, you need a proper team combination to go through to the success. So Kiran, your views on the same? Any suggestions quickly for the startups?
So for the startups, like Mr. Srivatsa and as well as Shubhankar has clearly told, do not decide a technology and try to push it to the user, especially to the farmers. It's not going to work. I mean, if you try to do that, you will be ending up being and one of the startups who are going to change their objective every year and consider the previous objective as a trash. I mean, that's what I have seen, like in India, in Nepal, and as well as everywhere across the globe. The startups I have interacted with, they come up with a new innovation every year and they consider the previous as trash one. So this is what is going to happen. And you don't have to go to the farmer on daily basis to understand what they do. Like you need to have that vision and as well as objective to understand with respect, once in a week or at least few days in a month, try to go spend with them, understand what is the requirement, what are they actually going through. I mean, more or less, financial issues with respect to soil, with respect to not judicially using the fertilizers, heavy dose of pesticides, and all this stuff. This is common. Like everybody knows. There are certain issues, there are certain issues, the values which can create for the companies like us as well. We are also trying to understand, to improve the traceability. We need to know how a farmer is really cultivating a crop on the ground, so that we can project that as a value to the customer, saying that okay, this is how your crop has been cultivated, and these are the values, and this is what you are actually going to consume as a produce. These are the quality aspects. So I mean, you need to look at it in a very different point of view. You need to understand one particular issue. Do not try to jump into everything at the same time. Understand one particular thing. Try to focus on that and create a value for it and try to scale it. I mean, if that particular thing is going to be successful, I'm sure that you're going to come up with multiple level of things or multiple aspects along with it.
Neeraj, sorry, just taking the liberty just to add one point which I missed out.
Sure, please.
Yeah, I think it's important to collaborate, right? We each one of us can never solve a problem. Deep-rooted problems are very big for one organization to come in and then solve. So identifying collaborative partners is very, very important. So I would say talk to 10 other organizations like this. We've had partnerships where sometimes we thought they are a competition, but then when you came together, made a bold decision of coming together, you realize, why did I not do this before? Right, so it just makes it so easy for everybody. There is money to be made. There is enough problem to be solved. There is enough recognition to be gained for each and every one of us when we work in a collaborative manner, because it's such huge challenge to solve for any single organization. Yeah.
And can I add one more point?
Yeah, sure.
Like as a company like BBXless, so we are open for collaboration, especially from across the globe, especially from India as well, because we share the border over here. So if you believe that there is a solution or strategy or anything product which can be actually used in Nepal with respect to the geography, like open for it, like just write an email to us and we are open for that particular collaboration at this point in time.
Yeah, great.
Neeraj, sorry to interrupt, but we have a question from audience. Someone named Dina Vashdev wants to ask something. I hope we can take her question.
Yeah, sure.
I
think our panelists will be more than happy to answer the questions
Thank you
from
so
the
much.
audience.
I would ask my team to put her on the stage so that she can ask the question herself. Dina, please accept the invite if you can hear us and come on stage. Okay, accept. Till then we can take this question that she had posted a few minutes back. Neeraj?
Yeah, okay. So the question I can see. So I'll read it out for the panelists. So whoever wants to go for it, just let me know. Do you have macrofauna, climate, soil covering, water quality, pollinator potential data? So specifically type of data is asking about. So whoever wants to take this, please go ahead. What type of data you guys have been capturing? So if any of this you guys are taking to provide the better solution to your customers?
Yeah, I'll take very quickly. I just want to. We don't do everything, of course. We are now.
Yeah, of course.
And earlier, most of the data would be manually coming into the system. So in the last few a few months, I would say. So we started, for example, getting the climate data through remote sensing. Soil moisture data again through remote sensing, vegetative indices, which is part of remote sensing, right? Those data is something that we have now started getting into the system, and we have also seen a good potential for integrating with water sensors for water quality measurement. So you're measuring your irrigation, quantity of irrigation, when was the land irrigated, when to irrigate is something that we will do based on now that we have moisture data. Now we could say so things like that. Yeah, those are some of the things that we are doing. Which is proving, and for example, in one of the paddy projects, we've been able to reduce the water utilization close to 25%. So I'm not saying only credit us. There is a sensor that's giving you a certain amount of information. Then you're taking actionable insights. You're driving that actionable insights to the farmer based on that sensor data, right? So, but it's a combination of that hardware and the software that's coming together to make that. So that's how I would say it's evolving. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Shubhankar or Kiran, any views?
Yeah, so
if you guys...
definitely there is always a need of all this type of data, but we need to be very sure of the time limit of this data, because all these data we are talking about, whether it is climate data, whether it is soil moisture, definitely a lot of these are now available from satellite images data, which we are also sourcing it from. But they are there are time limit based on this, so we need to be very careful of what is the type of data we are using and how we are feeding those data into our systems of different AI engines which we have been using. But yes, we are using these data, and we look forward to agencies if they have some of these data free of cost, lesser cost, which is better for us.
Yeah, and ground truthing is often required to recalibrate this data,
Correct.
right? So because
Yes,
it's
true.
you can't simply take this and then say, yeah, here it is an advisory. So it's very important to do the
Yeah,
ground.
actually, I'll just add it to that. We have this data. We have been using this data for a few regions of Africa, like Kenya and Congo, etc. We have also been started to use this data in Peru, in LATAM. But till now, we have not been able to do that because we do not have that ground sensing to validate this data, and that is one of the very critical points which Srivastava has pointed out. Yeah.
Yes, ground validation is very critical. It's not like that some satellite or anything is showing you the green leaves. It means there is a crop. It might be weed as well on the ground. So ground validation is very important. So Kiran, your views on this type of data,
So
if you guys
yeah,
are
so
getting
I
it?
mean, currently we are also working with the, I mean, with respect to climate, we also work with the weather data, like real time weather data, in order to give advisory to the farmers whenever they call out for certain type of disease and as well as pests that are on the ground. And with respect to soil, yes, we do have soil testing data, because we conduct the soil testing campaigns across multiple municipalities and as well as districts for multiple level of farmers, and they get the samples, and we engage our own resources in order to do the soil testing, and we collect that data, and we use the same soil testing data to give them recommendation with respect to what do they have to use with respect to fertilizers, and as well as whether it is organic or whatever it is chemical, whatever they are interested in, or we always push organic for the farmers. So we do collect this data, and these are the data which we collect, and as well as we believe that would be able to add a lot of value with respect to giving out recommendations to the farmers in mass, like in a mass scale, like based on, if you already do a proper mapping of the soil data with respect to nutrient content, that is going to add a lot of value. So we don't have to go and do the soil testing again and again. So a machine learning process would be easy for us to determine the nutrient deterioration and as well as recommendation in coming future. That is what we believe in. Yeah.
I am so sorry
Great.
to interrupt, but
Thanks
we
a lot.
are already exceeded our time for the session.
If you don't mind, I think Dina has a very good question on the monetization of the data itself from a farmer standpoint. I think it's a great question that the person has asked. Therefore, 10 seconds each one of us.
That's fine.
Yeah. I think I'll just quickly read out the data. Data takes time. Do farmers get financial incentives for collecting and providing data? Do you consider that fair? I personally consider absolutely fair. It is farmers' data. Farmers is a legitimate owner of his own data. Farmer belongs to nobody. He's an entrepreneur. He or she is an entrepreneur. They must be rightfully incentivized for the data, and that is a way to also beat the difficulties in collection of data and getting that data. So I think all of us, AgTechs, startups or otherwise, should be looking at incentivizing farmers for that data. I'll let others comment on that, but that's a very fair thing to do, in my opinion.
All right.
Okay.
So
Yeah, actually,
for us also, it's the same. Like basically incentivizing not with respect to monetary, like money directly to the farmer. So what we do is like we give them points with respect to whatever they fill out within the application itself, and these points they will be used for further input transaction within the platform itself. That's how we try to collect the data from farmer, and the certain points they further use it for transactions to keep that engagement with the farmer.
Yeah, great. Yes, Supankar, your
Yeah,
view?
no. So I was just about to say the same thing.
Okay, fine.
Actually, what happens is like as I started the session with saying that when we reach the farmer for some data, we need to tell them what is the benefit there will get out of sharing that data, and that is critical.
Yeah, so we are circling back from where we started. So, Harsiddhi, I will wind it up by thanking. Is that okay, right?
Yeah, please.
So thanks a lot, Srivatsa, Supankar, Kiran, for your precious time, specifically on Saturday. I hope you guys have enjoyed as much as we and as an audience also. So your views, your experience, your knowledge, definitely these are the things which audience will take it back with them. And again, I would like to thank AIC JUSAC, Harsiddhi, and her team. Thanks a lot, and we look forward to be engaged in future, as we also all mentioned that collaboration is important. Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Thank
Stay
you,
safe.
thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank you so much.
organizers.
Thank you
Neeraj,
for being with us.
very glad to see you. See this new avatar of yours. Great. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much
Thanks a
for
lot.
being with
Thanks.
us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Take care,
Bye.
Harsiddhi,
everyone.
Bye-bye.
thanks Neeraj, thanks
Bye.
AIC JUSAC.
Thank you.